Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 11 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby Saturday offers a $1 million purse. It's the Turf Classic. We're going a mile and an eighth. Some nice horses in here. Maybe not the top of the turf division right now, but horses that are knocking on the door. Let's take a look at this field. Wide open on the morning line as well. 3-1 on Cheryl's Fight. Now, if I recall, Cheryl's Fight was 50-1 on the morning line before his last race. He's 3-1 on the morning line. Now, he didn't go off at 50-1, and I don't think he's going off at 3-1 here.
I agree with you. A little bit of an oversight last time in the Maker's Mark. They might have him pegged a little too low here, Dan, but he's one of the contenders in this race for sure.
And he's got nice tactical speed, but I do think, and I'm going to disagree with Timeform US on this one, I do think the 4 Tribuvon's the speed of this race. They've got Cavalry Charge up front, and I know that Tribuvon shows his speed in longer distance races. He was the pace setter in the 12 furlong Breeders' Cup Turf, but I think he's going to try to precious passion this field going a mile and an eighth.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it just sort of feels like that's the running style they've settled on with this horse, dating back to his return from the layoff last year. They've just decided that he's a speed horse. And I'd be surprised if they took that away from him here, Dan. Cavalry Charge is a horse who likes to be forward. I don't think he's as fast as Tribuvon.
I think last year's Turf Classic at Churchill had a little bit more quality with horses like Colonel Liam and Domestic Spending and Smooth Like Straight. And the number 1 Ivar was only beaten 2 lengths for all the money. After that, unfortunately, he only raced twice more. Ran well both times, including the Breeders' Cup Mile. Let's watch his effort. He broke from first position 12. I thought all in all, Joe Talamo gave him a nice ride. He was pretty much never wider than 3 wide turning into the stretch. He comes with a good run. I like Ivar a lot as a horse. I do wonder if a mile and an eighth is a little far for him. I think he'll like some cut in the ground, but I think he might be a pure miler.
Yeah, I wondered about that too, and I'm not sure where I fall on that, Dan. It could work against him the distance of this race. If nothing else, he ran fine in this race last year, as you pointed out, against a field that's way better than this one. He had to swing widest from last in there. I thought he ran well. I thought he ran well in that race we just watched through the Breeders' Cup. He really did not have a fair chance in that race. The leaders were not coming back to him. He finished a really good third the last time we saw him.
Busy Channel's a really consistent runner coming off of a nice win against allowance horses at Keeneland, and he has excellent tactical speed. Let's watch that allowance race. His first start as a 6-year-old for trainer Larry Ravelli, and he got right up close to the leaders, and I thought they went a pretty legitimate pace here, and he's going to dig down deep to prevail. 94 Buyer's speed figure. He is a graded stakes winner over wet turf. He might get wet turf here, but he's taking a step up in class.
Yeah, it's a pretty big step up in class too. I mean, we've already, sort of laid it out there that this isn't the strongest turf classic field in the world. This race tends to come up a lot stronger than this at times. So maybe Busy Channel caught a little bit of a break in that situation, but it still feels like he's probably in a little too tough here.
Chad Brown is very well represented in this race. We'll start with the 3 public sector. Arad Ortiz takes the mount. He's going to face older horses for the first time as he makes his 4-year-old debut. He won 3 graded stakes races in New York, and then they ran him in the Hollywood Derby last time out. He was the beaten favorite, Mike. What'd you think of that trip overall?
I didn't think it worked out very well for this horse. And I feel like there's a way to look at that race last time out there at Del Mar and feel like if he could have worked anything out in that race with a little bit of time, he might have actually won that race. So I'm willing to give him a pass for that one, Dan. This horse was good last year as a 3-year-old. I didn't love him, and he wasn't, one of those horses who, sort of showed up and turned your head with these, big bursts of speed or anything like that. But he showed up every time. He's really tactical. The mile and an eighth is a good distance for him. There are things to like about this horse in this race.
I do believe he has some upside as well, and I think he will get a fair pace. This distance is very good for him. Tribuvon is the number 4. This is a horse that, had a broken rein in the Fort Marcy. He was gelded off a long layoff, and he then showed up in the Fort Marcy, and they tried something different. They tried showing speed. I talked to Chad after this horse wired him in the United Nations, and he told me he was just sick and tired of being wired in turf races. So he found a horse with speed like Tribuvon. He was going to use it. And in the Sword Dancer, he didn't make the lead. That's fine. Against Gufo, he ran well. In the Breeders' Cup Turf, that was just too tough of a spot. He's showing speed here, I think.
Me too. I mean, the Breeders' Cup, yeah, too tough a spot anyway, but talk about a wicked pace going a mile and a half. They were flying early in that race, very strongly run from start to finish in there, and he gave it up. A couple of weeks ago, Dan, we did the Channel Maker race, who also was showing speed in that Breeders' Cup turf, gave it up in the stretch, and then came back to win off the layoff. I feel like Tribute Bank could do the same thing here. I don't think a mile and an eighth is too short for him.
And he does run very well off the layoff, something to consider. Mirror Mission is the number 5. Ian Wilkes has done a really fine job with this horse. He won a couple of races at Gulfstream, including the Canadian Turf from off the pace with a legitimate triple-digit buyer. Now, they ran him in the Maker's Mark Mile last time out, a race won by Cheryl Spite. He was a big price that day. Really no excuse. He was just in between horses. He found a split in mid-stretch, and he finished evenly. My feeling is a mile short for him. A mile and an eighth is good. And I think he's gotten into good form with 2 consecutive triple-digit figs. The price is there.
I agree with all that stuff. His last 2 races are both good. I didn't love his Maker's Mark Mile last time, Dan. I didn't see the excuse, but we talked about it off air before we came on. You made a much better case for this horse than I did, and he's going to be a really good price in here.
Cheryl Spite won the Maker's Mark Mile. He has now won 3 in a row. Now, this is a horse that began his career. Beautiful pedigree. He won his first 2 starts like he could be any kind. They kind of rushed him a little bit in the Woodbine Mile and only his 3rd start, and the horse lost his way. Roger Atfield is a fantastic horseman. Everyone knows that. He's gotten Cheryl Spite good again. Let's watch the Maker's Mark. And he pulled Luis Saez hard in the early portion. I give Luis a lot of credit for getting this horse to settle down on the backstretch. He swings wide turning into the stretch. He's got a lot of work to do, and he just gets his lip down at the right time.
Good performance. And you liked him this day, Dan. You were 100% right. I don't know if he got the trip necessarily you were expecting him to get, but what a big finish he puts in here to just get up in this race. He's run 3 times on turf this year, Dan. I think he's run really, really well in all of them. And obviously he has the big figure to lean on from that race we just watched. I guess the question I have for you is, are you concerned at all about the stretch out to 9 furlongs for him?
That was just what I was going to ask you. When I look at this pedigree, I shouldn't be worried about it, but I have to be honest with you. It's in the back of my mind that maybe this horse's kick is a little bit better going shorter, and at 3 to 1 or thereabouts, that might be one of the reasons why I could take a stab against him. He was a much better price, obviously, last time. Cavalry Charge is the number 7 going out for Dallas Stewart, Brian Hernandez Jr. This horse does have good speed. He pushed the pace when he won the Fairgrounds at a gigantic price 2 starts back. Last time out in the Muniz, trip was there for him, just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, true enough, Dan. I mean, he got up close to the pace. He didn't make the lead last time. 2 Emmys did, so he just had to sit in behind him the entire way. And he did get in a little bit tight around the 2nd turn there with Santine, sort of right alongside there. So, maybe he had a little bit of trouble there. I still thought overall he ran okay. It didn't make me want to, necessarily bet him back in this race, but I do think Cavalry Charge is a little bit underrated.
The number 8, Adamo, is a very strong contender for Chad Brown. Not only is he making his 2nd start for Brown, his 2nd start in North America, all 3 of his turf victories overseas came on soft going, and there might be some cut in the ground at Churchill Downs on Saturday. In his North American debut, the Fairgrounds, he came from far, far back. He just missed a Cavalry Charge, who probably had a little bit of a better trip up close to the pace. I'm expecting a big kick from this one.
Yeah, me too. I'll be honest that I didn't know what to do with him in here. I feel like there's a way to go back and look at that stateside debut for him and say he just got unlucky. He ran the best race and he got unlucky. Just really couldn't get his momentum up around that final turn while Cavalry Charge was up front controlling things. And by the time they wheeled him out to the clear in the stretch, he just had too much to do. He actually put in a really good finish that day.
Kentucky Ghost, the number 9, was running in pretty good form, and they tried to stretch him all the way out to a mile and a half. And I think that's just a bridge too far for Kentucky Ghost, who didn't fire in the Grade 3 Sycamore. His prior races are good, although against weaker competition.
Yeah, that's my problem too. I have a lot of love for this horse. I'm a big fan of his. I tried him in several of those stakes races last year where he kept finishing 2nd and not winning. And I thought he ran well in some of them, Dan. I still can't get past the Colonial Downs race last July. Again, it was a good field, but a field that he certainly could have beaten, and he just had no excuse not to win that day. And it just, to me, it makes it hard to go back to him in a race like this one where he's just facing better horses.
Maybe the addition of blinkers will help the number 10 Santine finally reach his potential. He's been the beaten favorite in his last two races. In the Muniz last time out, it was a race dominated by speed. Two Emmys went to the front. Santine sat second. Cavalry Charge sat pretty much up close to the pace in third, and that was the order at the wire. Santine was hard-ridden on the second turn and stayed on to finish second, but never threatened the winner.
Yeah, that's how I thought too. I mean, he ran okay, I guess. I guess he's run okay in each of his two starts this year, Dan, but I just didn't really see the excuses for him either time. He's just one of those horses who, for whatever reason, always takes money in his races, which bothers me. Going back to the first loss of his career, the Hollywood Derby last year, he ran fine in that race too. I'd rather have public sector out of that race.
Please, please, please click on the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel to access all of DRFTV's videos during this Triple Crown season. Top pick time for the Turf Classic. It's $1 million race. I want a price. I think Miramission's going to really appreciate getting back out to 1 1/8. I don't think he's going to mind some cutting the ground. I want him to get into the clear. I don't think he was that comfortable in between horses. Tribuvon wired a window for you.
Yeah, I'm just going to hope he gets out in front of this field and keeps going, Dan. We looked at, 40 stakes races this weekend at Churchill. I had the toughest time with this one. I have no idea what to do. I think a lot of different horses can win here. I'm going to try to wire it with the 4.
Good betting race. Mike's going 4-1-3-8. I'm going 5-10-6-1 in the Turf Classic at Churchill. A grade 1. Good luck.